Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome to the January 2026 Q&A here on the Salt Mine Discord server. And of course, as usual, if you're watching this as Monday's episode of Mingles with Jingles, welcome to another episode of Mingles with Jingles. Hope you enjoyed your weekend. Now forget it, because it's Monday. As usual, the guys that turned up in person here on the Salt Mine Discord server posted a bunch of questions, and I'm just going to crack straight on with those questions, starting with Tank 50 US says first he'd like to report that his trip to Chicago for MFF, and I can't remember what that stands for, was a great success, some convention. Many people walked away with signed copies of his books. Most of them grabbed the first book, but several got the whole trilogy. He'd like to announce that he's working on a fourth in the series titled Aces of Navarro, which follows the exploits of several fighter pilots during events of Worlds Collide and War for the Frontier. Also, slowly rolling out the series on Barnes and Noble, and there's a link there. His question: if you're in your mid-20s and could choose any aircraft of the setting, which would you choose? The F-16F, which has larger wings for more things that go boom, or the F-15F, which is based on the E, has raptor-like wings and tail, and pushes out a combined 70,000 pounds of thrust? Or would you take things slow to C-130 maritime patrol and make submarines regret their life choices while being an angel to Atlantic convoys? I've always had a soft spot for the F-15, mainly because one of the very first computer games that I ever played was Microprose F-15 Strike Eagle, where I think you played the F-15E. I can't remember, it was a very, very long time ago. I was on my first deployment to the Falkland Islands when I was still working as a radio operator. So this would have been pre-1995. And the communications centre down there in the command bunker, as well as the first proper cat that I ever met, it was called Burger, which was short for Fur Burger, don't ask, was the Comsen cat, and was actually pregnant at one point, had a bunch of kittens, and there was myself and a Royal Air Force corporal who took, because we were on opposite shifts, and we take turns taking care of her and feeding her and making sure she was okay. And in return, she hunted all the rats for us. But in the crypto cell, they had a PC, and somebody had smuggled a copy of Microprose's F-15 Strike Eagle on it. And so when things got quiet during the night shifts, when there wasn't a lot of traffic coming in on the radio broadcast, I would just sit there playing F-15 Strike Eagle. Wasting taxpayers' money. I don't even know where the copy of the game came from. It was always there on the PC. And when I say PC, I mean this was like a 386, if you can remember far back enough and know what those were. So it wasn't a great computer. Wow. How long ago would that have been? That must have been 30 years. Well, it was pre-95, so I just dated it there, didn't I? Yeah, at least 30 years ago. Wow, how time flies. But anyway, yeah, probably an F-15, purely because I've always had a soft spot for it. And it's like one of the few aircraft in... And it was designed in the 80s. And it's still, I think, one of the only aircraft in the world that can actually accelerate going straight up. It just generates so much thrust. It's an amazing aircraft. And they've never lost one in combat. I'm about to move on to the next question. I don't know how much of this background noise you're picking up, but Akazuki's being very, well, cat-like. I think she wants my attention. We'll see how it goes. I might have to break the recording and go and scratch her butt while she eats her food. Because when she starts demanding that, long and bitter experience has taught me you just do it, because it's the only way to get any peace and quiet. If you try to ignore her, she'll just sit there yelling at you for the next half hour. Anyway, moving on to the next question. This is from Godpain. Greetings, Rear Admiral Jingles, sir. I hope you had a pleasant change of the air and your recording software is running. So do I. Simple question. If you had a choice, which form of YouTube ad would you kindly delete? The unskippable ad, or the ads that come up over and over in the shorts section? Ugh, I don't even bother watching YouTube Shorts. If I wanted to watch TikTok, I'd install TikTok. YouTube Shorts can kiss my ass. So I'd have to pick the unskippable ad. He's asking this because he's heard that Vietnam is the first country who was writing into law that ads on social media must be skippable after no more than 5 seconds. I'm moving to Vietnam. He hopes that other countries will follow this. Please remember to stay hydrated and drink lots of water. I'm drinking lots of coffee at the moment, actually. It says best regards from Austria. Yeah, I suppose if that was the choice, it would have to be the unskippable ad, because screw YouTube Shorts. YouTube have been constantly on my back for years now to put mid-roll ads in my videos, and I'm sure you're all aware that I just point-blank refuse to do it. And I know it's costing me money, but I believe it's only costing me money in the short term. because I also firmly believe, because this has been my experience as well, that when you've got 4 mid-roll ads in a 10-minute video, you unsubscribe from that channel and you hit the do not recommend this channel to me in future button, because that's what I do. So it winds the shit out of me, so I don't see why I should subject you lot to it. So I firmly resisted YouTube's. At one point they tried to turn them on by default. The backlash to that one. Yeah. It's just another one of YouTube's great decisions. But yeah, I don't have mid-roll ads. Because I don't enjoy having... If I sit down to watch something on YouTube, I don't want to be interrupted with a mid-roll ad. So I don't turn them on, because I don't think you should be interrupted by, especially with the kind of content that I do. Long-form videos where there's a story and there's, you're watching, I don't know, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And right in the middle of a piece of exposition, YouTube decides it's going to show you an ad. Or when I'm in the middle of talking about something relevant, suddenly YouTube decides it's going to show you an ad. So no, screw that, I don't put them in. YouTube of course reserves the right to put them in anyway, because they're a bunch of fucking wankers and that's just what they do. But I don't put them in. You might see an ad at the front of the video, you might see an ad at the end of the video, but you'll never see one in the middle. Well, not as long as I have any control over it. And I'm aware that costs me money, but like I said, I believe it only costs me money in the short term, because I think putting those ads in is just short-sighted. It just drives the audience away. Because I've unsubscribed from channels that do that. So I would completely understand if you were to do that as well. Which is why I don't do it. Anyway, next one from Yamatog2. Dear Almighty Overlord Jingles, since you were recently talking about diversifying the content of your channel by cutting down on World of Tanks and World of Warships and featuring more indie titles, have you also thought about doing more videos on strategy games? Games like Warcraft, Starcraft, Age of Empires, Hearts of Iron, Europa Universalis, Civilization, etc. Actually, no, I don't really play strategy games that much. I mean, which is kind of weird, because I thought that I did, but it wasn't until you asked that question that I thought, actually, do I? I mean, I loved until Civ 7. I loved Civilization. I played the original Civilization on the Commodore Amiga 500 way back, and it was a revolutionary game. And I've played every Civilization game since, and they've been good in their own ways. Some not maybe as good as the ones that preceded them, but they had their own thing. I loved Command and Conquer Generals, but things like Hearts of Iron, Europa Universalis, too complicated for me. I can't even watch videos on them because I just don't understand what's going on. Not saying they're bad games, but they're above my pay grade. And there was one, again, talking about indie titles, I can't remember what it was. Well, I can remember what it was, I can't remember what it was called. Basically, there was a demo, like 6 months or so ago, of somebody who was redoing, because you remember Blizzard tried to redo Warcraft 3 and made a complete pig's ear of it. I mean, it was just awfully bad. But somebody did. How the hell they didn't get sued by Blizzard Activision, I don't know, but there was some indie developer did what was basically Warcraft, Orcs versus Humans, the original Warcraft game, but updated, modern graphics, and so on and so on and so on, and it was brutally hard. I played it, tried to play it, but it was just so hard. But the thing that I noticed while I was playing it, it's like they say, you can never go home again. All of those games from like your early days of gaming that you look back on fondly were great at the time, but gaming's moved on a bit, and what was cutting edge and acceptable back then isn't anymore. It's kind of like when, because Blizzard got all that shit for when at BlizzCon all those years ago somebody stood up and said, would you ever do like a relaunch a classic version of Warcraft? Back, when level 60 was the level cap, when Warcraft originally came out, and whichever developer was answering the question said, no, you don't want to play classic Warcraft. You think you do, but you don't. And then the backlash was pretty impressive. And then they eventually, of course, did put out World of Warcraft Classic, and it was pretty successful. Yet, I went back to play it, and I thought it was awful. It was terrible. I mean, back in the early 2000s, it was amazing because it was the first MMO to remember that you were supposed to be having fun and didn't punish you for trying to play. But there'd been so many quality of life changes in the following 15 years that going back and playing the way it was originally just rubbed my nose in the fact that so many improvements had been made, and it was so much of a chore to do stuff that you just took for granted in the modern game. So looking at all of these old strategy games and the remakes of them, I mean, there's definitely a market for it, you know, that they are popular. But I guess I'm saying be careful what you wish for, because not everything holds up as much as you hope it might. Particularly, I think, in things like the real-time strategy genre. Adventure games and stuff like that, stuff that rely more on story than game mechanics. I think remakes of those do tend to hold up quite well. But remakes of things like first-person shooters and real-time strategy games, yeah, be careful. You might end up enjoying them, or you might end up looking at them and thinking, wow, yeah, the industry has moved on, hasn't it? Because this is just not really playable anymore. You know, you picks your genre, you takes your choice. Anyway, next question from Dr. Fury von Scooper. Dear Overlord Jingles, greatest of the gnomes, best wishes for the new year, thank you. I asked you a question what your favourite dinosaurs were. I remember that one, yeah. Continuing from that question, what is your favourite mythical creature, and can you tell us why? Kind regards from Belgium. Yes, I am recording. PPS, his is a dragon, because his Chinese horoscope is dragon, and they're one of the most strong mythical creatures around. I don't know. I was into, as I suppose most kids are, because I was watching this documentary called Why Dinosaurs on YouTube the other night, and they were talking about why were dinosaurs so popular, and they firmly laid the blame on Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park. You know, as if kids weren't interested in dinosaurs before Jurassic Park came out. Because I was crazy about dinosaurs when I was a kid. But I went through these phases. First it was dinosaurs, and then when I learned everything about dinosaurs and I got bored with them, then it was Greek mythology. So I do know a fair bit about all these mythological type creatures, specifically the Greek myth ones. Obviously there are other myths, as you know, like you say, the Chinese dragons and so on and so on and so on, Western dragons. But I would probably have to say the Jabberwocky. Now I don't even know if it is a mythical creature. As far as I'm aware, they might have just made it up for the... I was going to say Monty Python movie of the same name, but it wasn't a Monty Python movie. It was a Terry Gilliam movie that just happened to be, because, I mean, he was obviously in Monty Python, he was the animator. And the movie did star Michael Palin. But it wasn't a Monty Python movie, it was a Terry Gilliam movie. And it's one of the funniest, darkest satires I've ever seen, with the creature effects. Considering the budget that they had, amazingly good, particularly the physical special effects, the makeup effects were incredible on this movie, and it was really, really funny as well. And when they finally revealed the Jabberwocky, that's where the Jabberwocky comes from. Was it Lewis Carroll or C.S. Lewis? Lewis Carroll poem, Beware the Jabberwocky. It was a sort of nonsense poem. He made up the name of the creature, so it wasn't actually a mythical creature, but it sort of became one by default after the poem came out, and then later the Terry Gilliam movie. So I would buck tradition. I would go with the Jabberwocky, purely because the movie's hilarious. And if you haven't seen it, you should, and especially keep an eye on all of the famous people in it, or people who were not particularly famous at the time, but later on went to play significant roles in other things. You think, holy shit, that's him. That's Admiral Piet from Return of the Jedi, playing a mad monk, whipping himself into a frenzy. Yes, it is. You know, it's full of stuff like that. Anyway, next one. This is from Sir Blake. How is 2026 going so far? I have to admit, for me, not too bad. Don't get old, alright, because it sucks. I hurt my shoulder the other night, and it's been hurting for like a week now. And here's the thing, I didn't actually do anything. I was just lying there in bed doom-scrolling YouTube, and suddenly my shoulder started hurting. And I thought, shit, am I having another heart attack? But no. And now I've just got this persistent pain in my shoulder that isn't going away. And this is just getting old. It absolutely sucks. Other than that, my 2026 hasn't been too bad. I've been on my own with the cats because Rita's been away in Texas. And she's due back in like 10 days. Unfortunately, she's had some bad news from her family back in Portugal. So she's back, and then she's immediately buggering off to Portugal again. So for however long, I don't know. So it's just going to be me and the cats for the foreseeable future. But, I mean, that has its perks, because the cats are great. And I get to listen to music that I like, and watch TV shows that I like, and eat food that I like. So, yeah. I've never really been one of those people that had to have company. And there are people like that out there. You know, they cannot live alone. They just need somebody else, and they end up staying in relationships that they really should be getting out of just because they can't handle being by themselves or the length of time it would take to find another relationship. I've fortunately never been one of those people. I mean, I like having Rita around, but I'm fine when she's not. So, yeah, I mean, 2026. As I'm sitting here recording this, we're 11 days in. There hasn't been anything amazingly bad happen yet, but the year is but young. I remain confident that 2026 will be probably worse than 2025 was. 2025 was not a great year. Heart attack, second cancer scare, AI taking everything over, everybody losing their jobs, the enshittification of every service that used to be good in the quest for greater greed and profit. 2026 says, hold my beer. I think things will probably end up getting better, but I don't think it's going to happen this year. So yeah, hate to be a pessimist and all. Well, people say, here's the thing, is it really pessimism if it's true, or is it just realism? We shall see. Yeah, anyway, moving on to the next question. Oh, he's saying, have you tried Anno 117 Pax Romana yet? Yes, I have. Yes, and I know it's Ubisoft. And yeah, it's another one of those real-time, well, not really real, it's a city builder, city management sort of game. And it is very, very good, but it just, I don't know, it didn't grab me. I played for a few hours the day I got it, and then a few more hours the next day. And then I started looking at YouTube videos and said, oh, how should I do this? How should I make this the most efficient and maximise the potential of that? And then I went back and played it again, and then I never touched it again. And I ended up uninstalling it. I never really felt the urge to go back and keep on playing, which is a shame because I don't know. I guess I'm just not into that sort of game anymore. It's not a bad game at all. It seemed like a very, very good game. It looked good. The systems made sense, but it just didn't grab me. So, no, sorry. And I'm definitely going to move on to another question now, Sir Blake. You've had your chance. This next one from the Make-A-Whoosh Foundation. Let's talk New Year's resolutions. I don't do New Year's resolutions. I'm already perfect. Why would I need to improve? But I'll continue reading the question. What's the most ambitious plan you ever abandoned or witnessed being abandoned? When did a resolution ever actually work out for or around you? Alternate question, just in case. Did you watch Pluribus? Oh, yeah. Well, I don't do New Year's resolutions. How can I put this? I've made lots of changes in my life over the last couple of years. I've had to fight cancer, heart disease, high blood pressure, and diabetes, which has necessitated a lot of lifestyle changes. I've changed my diet, I've changed my habits, so on and so on, and the cancer hasn't come back, hooray, so 2 years clean. I recently got the good news from my doctor that I no longer have high blood pressure, so hooray, that's good. The diabetes hasn't gotten any worse, it's gotten a little bit better, but it needs to get, more better. I've just found, because I'm trying, here's the thing, when it comes to the things that you drink, I do like my whiskey, I do like beer. But because beer is basically liquid bread, and if you have diabetes, carbohydrates are kind of bad. Obviously, sugar's really bad for you. So I've cut the sugar out of my diet. Well, not completely. It's impossible to cut sugar 100% out of your diet in today's society, because basically everything's got some degree of sugar in it. But I've either gone to no sugar or low sugar versions of everything. And the carbohydrates are the next big thing, because your body basically turns carbohydrates into sugar as well. So, but beer is basically liquid bread, and bread's basically carbohydrate. So beer is like not great for you if you're a diabetic as well. But you try finding no alcohol, alcohol-free beer tastes like ass. There are low alcohol beers, but they are also high in carbohydrates. But I found this website. This isn't a sponsored section or anything. It's a website called Drinkwell, and they basically specialise in like gluten-free, low carbohydrate, low calorie, light beers and sugar-free wine. So I've just received my first order from them, and you know what? The beer's all right, and the wine's not bad either. So I'm making progress on the diabetes, and just cutting back on. There's all kinds of things. I don't want this to turn into a health ad, but there's all kinds of things that you can do. But how can I put this? A lot of the time, cutting back on this and cutting back on that, and eating stuff that's healthy generally means eating stuff that tastes like shit. But that's not necessarily the way it has to be. There are actually tasty options out there. You just have to look for them. Anyway, enough about all of that. So yeah, no New Year's resolutions, because I'm basically perfect anyway, and I don't sit around waiting until January the 1st to make changes in my life that need to happen. So the alternate question, did I watch Pluribus? I did. He's talking about the new show from Vince Gilligan, the showrunner behind Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. It stars Rhea Seehorn, who played Kim Wexler in Better Call Saul, one of the breakout characters from that show. And it's basically about we intercept this signal from outer space, and it contains instructions to create some kind of metabolic compound. But this compound, it's basically an intelligent virus. And as soon as it gets into one person, that person then basically becomes the first cell in a hive mind, and they infect as many other people around them as possible. And it basically just spreads. It takes over the entire world. The entire world, everybody in the world becomes this part of this shared consciousness, a sort of hive mind, except for 12 people who are immune. And that's what this show's about. And it's really, really good. The first season just finished. And yes, I did watch it. And as for series recommendations, I've also been watching, what was it called? The Mayor of Kingstown. Don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's Jeremy Renner. You get a lot of that these days. These Hollywood movie stars get this gig to do a TV series, and it ends up being really, really good. He's basically this guy who... He's the guy who knows the guys in this town, whose biggest industry is prisons. There's like 20,000 people live in this town, and there are 30,000 prisoners in the 4 different prisons around the town. The entire town's economy relies on these prisons running. So you've got the gang members in the town, and then you've got the gang members in the prisons, and then you've got the police, and you've got this guy who basically works as the middleman, trying to keep the peace between all of the different factions. And that's what it's about, and I highly recommend it. I've binge watched all 4 seasons, I think, and they're all great. So that would be my recommendation. Pluribus, if you haven't seen it, and then The Mayor of Kingstown, starring Jeremy Renner. How are we doing for time? Oh, half an hour. Still got plenty of questions. Next one comes from Hideki Motosua. Greetings, O Mighty Overlord. Been 1 week into the year, but yeah, Happy New Year. Bizarre food choice. Hang on a second. Automatic cat litter is making a noise in the background. Don't worry, I'll edit that out. I don't know if the microphone picked it up or not. It usually doesn't pick up background noises, but just in case. Because yes, Akazuki just took a really, really big shit, and it's kind of making my eyes water. You know what, I might leave this in. Anyway, Bizarre food choice. You cross out one on each pair and the remaining would be in your menu for a day. Some foods may sound what the hell, but they're all legitimate edible foods. He's tried most of them. Okay. So, and again, there's a huge paragraph of other stuff about it, but we're trying to keep the question short. Number one instruction on the page, and somehow people still end up writing novels in the question section. So, balut, which is a Philippines delicacy, fertilized duck egg, developing duck embryo with partially formed duck, or tong zidan, virgin boy eggs, from Dongyang Chinese local specialty, chicken eggs boiled in young boy under 10-year-old urine. Okay. Oh, holy, oh, come on, seriously. Like I said, the number one instruction on the Questions for Jingles channel is keep it short so Jingles can answer as many questions as possible. Hideki's question takes up half a page. Alright, so I wouldn't eat either of those. Next question. Banh mi, Vietnamese speciality with simmered silkworm as filling, or assorted grilled insect plate. So a choice of insects. Again, I wouldn't eat either of those. Third one, fruit sandwich with whipped cream replaced by fermented durian cream. Oh, I know what durian is. Durian's that incredibly smelly fruit that you get in Southeast Asia. It stinks so badly it makes your eyes water. Yeah. And apparently it makes it worse when you ferment it. Oh, awesome. Or pig's blood cake. Again, I wouldn't touch either of those. Banana tapioca jelly cake. I hate tapioca. With topping of sweetened condensed milk. Plus 50% chance of diabetes. That doesn't sound so bad, except I hate tapioca. Or salted coconut creamy sauce, which is basically instant high blood pressure. And his fifth question, sashimi, which is a Japanese 7 spices blend, sprinkled on top of horse meat ice cream. Horse meat ice cream? Japan, what is wrong with you? Or bitter melon ice cream. I would probably go for the bitter melon ice cream. Except here's the thing. Can I eat melon? No, it's just water. It's just grapefruit. When you have heart disease, if you've had a heart attack, one of the medications that they put you on, you cannot eat grapefruit, or it will maybe kill you as a reaction with one of the medications. But yeah, that's grapefruit, not melon. I was getting them mixed up. So I could probably eat bitter melon ice cream, and I actually did quite like the sound of that. So that's not bad. That's 10 different suggestions. I had to choose 5 of them. I refuse to choose 4, but I'll go with the bitter melon ice cream. And he says he's playing Starcom Unknown Space. And if he knows some way to get into the star system at these coordinates, peaceful. Oh, I'm assuming he's talking about there is a system. All right, we're going a little bit off topic here. But, I mean, Starcom has proven to be an amazingly popular video series, and so many people have bought the game and played it on my recommendation. I think I can't remember the name of the race, but right in the top, extreme top right spiral arm of the galaxy in the game, there is a system that the inhabitants do not like visitors, and they react extremely violently to anybody visiting their system, and their technology is off the charts. I mean, they will kick your ass 7 different ways to Sunday. Regardless of, you can have researched every tech in the game. You can maybe survive in a war of attrition against one of their ships, but 2 of them, forget it. I'm assuming this is the race that he's talking about, and there is a way of getting into that star system peacefully, and I will be showing you in the Starcom Unknown Worlds video series. You just have to wait a bit. But yes, I know exactly which system he's talking about, and there is a way to do it. But you're going to have to wait for the video. Or you could just bypass them, because there's another system on the other side of their space that's very, very interesting, with an artificial planet and a thing being imprisoned in it. And I've already said too much. Spoilers. Okay. So, moving on. Next question from the Last Ranger. Good morning to the mighty Overlord Jingles. Hello from Virginia, North Carolina, line stateside. Question for you. I'm in the Army over here as a First Lieutenant or Lieutenant Junior grade for you Navy folks. How can I be an effective leader in your own words? Listen to the people who know what they're talking about. I'm talking about, well, in the Navy, you'll be listening to your petty officers and chief petty officers. Don't just do what they tell you to do, but listen to them and then make your own damn mind up, because at the end of the day, you're the one in charge. You're the officer. Just listen to the people with the experience and then make your own decisions based on that knowledge, because You know, they've got like 20 years worth of knowledge. Use it. Don't be afraid to take advice. That's all I would say. It's probably junior. I think first lieutenant. Yeah, first lieutenant. First lieutenant, second lieutenant in the army. They're probably the toughest ranks to have, because nobody. Well, first lieutenant not so much. Second lieutenant definitely. Nobody respects you because you haven't done anything to earn the respect yet, and you're expected to lead while not knowing shit. First lieutenant, it's not as bad, but you know there's still some element of it. Just listen to the people under you, the people who have earned the respect. Take their advice, and then make your own decision based on the knowledge that they share with you, and you won't go far wrong. Next question comes from PR. Hey Jingles, had a man back all those hours I spent on Starcom Unknown Space after you made the first couple of videos about it, but I'm looking forward to seeing more indie games featured going forward. His questions: have I tried Terra Invicta? It's a new space strategy game which has been the setting of humanity adapting to First Contact with potentially hostile. We have been talking about how I'm not really into strategy games anymore these days. However, I haven't tried this, but I like the sound of that. That's an interesting setting. Humanity adapting to First Contact with potentially hostile aliens. I might have to check that out. And second question: is there any chance we might get more Sea Power videos? Oh yeah, sure. I mean, it's not really an independent. I mean, that's the thing. This Micro Prose, because back at the beginning of the video I was talking about F-15 Strike Eagle, which was a Micro Prose game, and that Micro Prose died, I think, in the 90s, possibly early 2000s. The modern Micro Prose isn't the same people. They've bought the name, but they're people who they bought the name for a reason, because they loved the kind of games that Microprose made, and they want to do those kind of games again, which is why if you look at the games that they've published, games like Sea Power, that's exactly the sort of thing that the original Microprose did. So they're not the original Microprose. They bought the right to use the original Microprose name, but they are kind of fulfilling the legacy of the kind of games that the original Microprose did, Sea Power being one of them. And yeah, very, very good game. Still in early access. Not sure when it's actually going to come out, but definitely at some point I will be doing more, because they've added so much more to it since the last time I did a video on it. And I'm still in their Discord, so I still keep up to date with the new stuff that's happening. Also, since you mentioned games you look back to with nostalgia, I think he's added his question here. I've recently returned to playing Star Wars Empire at War. Yep, you're a strategy game fan, aren't you? I can tell. Love that game. Of course, I liked it better back then, but I think it's still very good. Oh, well, good for you. I mean, I say, you can never go home again. You look back at these things, and it's often through rose-tinted spectacles, and then you go back and play it again with modern sensibilities. You think, yeah, it's not actually that good. But sometimes they are. And of course, unless you go back and replay them, you'll never know. Thing is, a lot of these older games, they just don't run on modern hardware. And some of them, they're just not available anymore. So unless you've got a physical copy, and let's face it, if it's an old enough game, they were only available in physical copies. But I mean, when was the last time PCs were sold with things like disk drives? So it can be complicated playing old games, unless they're in your Steam library, because Steam never kills games. So there's that. I think we're going to have one more, and then I'm going to put this one to bed and go and have myself some lunch. This one's from SF Mason. Oh wait, no, I've missed one. This one, sorry SF Mason, you know what, screw it, I'll answer them both. The next one's from Miner393. It's first time for the year when you show the newest cat pictures you have before the chat riots. I will hopefully remember to put some cat pictures in. If you forget the pictures for YouTube, they will riot, no pressure. Yeah, I have to pay the cat tax. Anyway, with all the games you have in your collection, which was the game that started your Steam addiction and your regular ties to Gabe Newell? His was a Christmas gift of Civ 5 in 2010. The library is now 420 games, including non-Steam games. And have you been keeping up with the Whitechurch Canal breach from just before Christmas? I have no idea what that is. So clearly I haven't been paying attention to the news. But what was the game that started my Steam addiction? I have absolutely no idea. I couldn't say. And at the moment, I'm trying to flash up Steam and have a look. but it's being awkward. So I have absolutely no idea. It might actually be one of the earlier Civilization games. I seem to remember, what was the one? It wasn't technically Civilization. It was by Firaxis, and I think Sid Meier, Alpha Centauri. Because in the original Civilization, the idea was that you started off in the Stone Age, and then you eventually launched an interstellar rocket to colonize Alpha Centauri. And launching that rocket, that was winning the game. But then Alpha Centauri was what happened after you got there, and it wasn't that popular compared to the regular Civilization games. But I really, really enjoyed it. I put hundreds of hours into that game, replayed it multiple different times, multiple different win conditions, multiple different endings, and I really, really liked it. And that would probably be it, I think. And since I almost skipped a question there and was about to answer SF Masons and then realised I hadn't answered Minor Trees, I won't keep you hanging, SF Mason. Here's your question. It says, beep, good evening, Jingles. Glad you found the kitchen ceiling hole amusing. Oh, he sent that picture. I remember that. I have to say, enjoying the Starcom series. I may well have to purchase it soon. I hope you did use the cat tax picture in the video. Have you heard of The Crust? I have not. He's provided a link. It's available on Steam, apparently. A moon-based building RPG, given you have an underlying story which draws cues and some very well-known sci-fi series films. Might be of interest once you get the Starcom series completed. And he's provided a link. And it looks like it's in early access because the link is showing update 2. You know what? Sounds alright. I'll have to have a look. It doesn't look that expensive either. That's the thing I love about indie games. I mean, you have to be careful. A lot of them in early access. Some of them never make it out of early access. Yes, Star Citizen. I'm looking at it. It's not really an indie game, is it? No. $1 billion. It's 13 years and still no game in sight. God. But indie titles, they're not afraid of trying new stuff. They don't just spit the same game out every 2 years and stick a different cultural skin on it and call it a new game. Yes, Ubisoft, we are talking about you. And Electronic Arts and their sports games, for that matter. And sometimes, you know, they're more miss than hit, but sometimes you get some genuine, absolute great games out there, like Starcom. And some of the other indie titles that I'm going to be showing you as this year progresses. So I'm going to actually take a look at this, The Crust. So thanks, Mason. I'm always happy to listen to your recommendations because that's the thing. That's how indie titles become popular. People telling other people about them because they don't have the marketing budget of Electronic Arts or Blizzard Activision. So they kind of rely on word of mouth and social media because that's all the marketing they can afford. So thank you for that recommendation. I will be taking a look at that. And apologies to anybody whose questions I did not get to this time around. I must try to remember to pay the cat tax and stick some pictures or maybe video clips of Akazuki and Nino and Juzi in. And again, apologies if I didn't get to answer your questions, but there's only so much time available for me to do these. I hope you've enjoyed this live Q&A, and if you're watching this as Monday's episode of Mingles with Jingles, hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.